Ray Sefo, before we start, I have to tell you my favorite story of you. I'm being touched. My favorite story of you is when you were in Chicago, because you're such a friendly-looking guy and you're such a nice guy. Some guy was hitting on one of the UFC girls, and they're like, Ray, can you step in? And you just stepped in, and the guy instantly was like, none of that, none of that. Do you get that often? Do you have people recognize you and like, none of that? I seen him get punched by Mark Hunt hard, and he stood there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's I've been in the sport for a very long time, and so a lot of people do know what I do, and it's not that we always got to look out for each other, regardless if you're at UFC or Bellator or Worlds of Fighting, or even, you know, the other leagues. You know what I mean? So we're in that kind of environment, so you always got to look out for everybody.
Now, you are legitimate K1 striker. You've fought legitimate K1 fighters.
Right.
You always hear Joe Rogan or someone like, oh, he's got K1. He doesn't have K1 stand-up, whatever guy he's talking about. Does it offend you? Do you think they just have like C-level K1 striking, or what do you think about the MMA K1 striking?
It's hard to say because, you know, everybody, I mean, if you look at MMA today compared to MMA 10 years ago, it's a huge difference between the way the fighters are learning how to grapple, or how to kickbox, how to box. Is it that level? I think it's getting there, but it's still going to take some time, just like anything. You know, is my grappling at the level of the highest grapplers? No, it's not. It's going to get there, but it's just like anything else. You know, you just got to keep working at your craft, and until you get to a point where, you know, everything is balanced out, if you will.
Wow. How did you find yourself?
Give this man some water.
I know, good Lord. Give me 1 second. Sorry, Ray. I'm calling it nerves. There you go. Now can you breathe? Yeah. We get a time machine. Ray Sefo goes back. Would you be MMA or would you still go K1?
I would 100% be MMA. If there was a time machine and I had to go back in time and understand the sport better. Because again, you know, when I first watched the sport back in '93, I was in Los Angeles, and I was like, what's this? And then 20 years later, I mean, the sport is humongous. And so, yeah, 100%, I would definitely do MMA.
Why in the hell did K1 never really take off in the United States? Because it has a higher percentage of knockouts, it's more exciting, it's, you know, it's not 42 minutes of, you know, tapping each other. What was the holdup?
You know, I think the way they kind of approach things. I mean, Scott Coker was the man that was, you know, that was the K1 face for the U.S. And I think a lot of the things they held him from doing. Nobody understands the market better than Scott Coker, and I think the way the K1 people try to do it, they try to run it like it was in Japan. And unfortunately, they're two different markets, although, you know, the sport is a sport, but you just have to let people know, you know, from the U.S., do what they do best here. It's the same as you do in Japan. You don't go and market the sport in Japan the way you do here in America. It's completely different. And so I think there was some, you know, issues there, and eventually it got to the point where it ended up disappearing, and which is a shame. But it is what it is, you know. I guess if maybe K1 had done so well, MMA probably wouldn't be where it is today. So I don't know, you know what I mean? All we got to look at is sometimes things happen for a reason, and MMA, you know, and Bas Rutten said it best. MMA is its own art in itself, so I love it.
And last question is, you see guys that you were competing against. You got Mark Hunt still out there. Is there something in you that when you wake up, you're like, or do you, all right, I'm on the business end now, I'm staying out, I don't want to get punched in the face anymore?
No, I love competing. I'm in the gym 5-6 days a week. Sparring, I spar at least 3 days a week. I love it. I mean, it's, you know, it's my life. Martial arts is my life, and if I'm not in the gym, I can't function properly, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of things, decisions that's got to be made that I got to do as an executive. And so being active in the gym and training allows me to make these kind of decisions, and not only with my team, but also with the fighters and everything else that goes on.
Thank you so much, Ray. Pleasure. Thank you for holding out on my coffin. Thank you.